Our first speaker today, Gord, is going to talk to us about what is a coach. And I think as we enter the role, we need to understand, what does a teacher look like? What does a mentor look like? In Toastmasters, we have sponsors as well. But what is our job as a coach? Because it's quite different than a mentor. And if we don't understand that, we're not creating an environment that's sustainable. So let's welcome Gord Grant, and he will give you more and more details.
So we're just doing a quick mic handoff here. My roadies aren't around to help me out.
Sorry.
For those of you who haven't figured out yet, the theme that this team picked was squirrels.
Just the bike and squirrel.
And when this team was put together, we discovered that we quite liked each other. And the one thing we had in common was that none of us could stay on time.
Only Master Squirrel.
Creative collective.
He's even denying. I mean, the first step is recovery, is remitting, and that's where you need it. So you'll see lots of squirrel stuff today for those of us that have not been through this group before. And I get it because I'm a cyclist, so that's why that one. And you can thank Lynette for that. When we got involved with this process, Christina asked Teresa to put together a team. All of us come from a professional coaching background or a professional training program. So we understand what coaching means to us, we understand what teaching means. We have life coaches, grief coaches, performance coaches, and those people who have been involved in adult education, either professionally or in the past as an educator. We had a ton of experience. And we tried to explain the differences between them when we first got involved, in that you're going to be involved in all of these things. As a club coach, you're not doing pure coaching, you're not doing pure mentoring, and you're not doing pure training. And people tend to gravitate to the area that they're most comfortable with. What I thought I would do, just to get it kicked off, is to level set, to understand what the differences are between them, so that as you're involved with your club, you'll understand what we mean by the term coaching. My world is working with professional sales teams. I help their leadership build the coaching skills they need to help their teams perform a little bit better. And a few months ago, I was working with one of my clients. Now, this lady had stepped out of the sales role and into a management gig, and she was very focused on making sure that she did things properly. And we've made a lot of progress, but it's a struggle. It's a struggle for people who have been experts at something to now step into a leadership role where they have to guide. And she needed a little bit of help with that, and that's where I came in. We've been working together for some time, and we were in a session, and one thing you'll find when you're involved in your club or you're involved in the corporate world, in a coaching environment, you get moments of time. You can't carve off an hour of time with somebody when they're focused on trying to do their job, or when your clubs are trying to make something happen in a meeting. You get a few little moments. So in this meeting, as they were just getting going, there was a knock at the door. And it was one of her sales reps who had a problem that needed to be resolved. And we just kind of shut down the training session. And rather than have my client step out and work with this individual, we invited the salesperson to come in. And it was one of those proud father moments for those of you who've had a child that has done something that you struggled to get them to do, and they actually do it. She asked this salesperson, okay, I can help you one of three ways. I can give you the answer, if that's what you want. Or I can give you a little bit of the answer, and together we can work on what you think is the best possible path. Or we can create an environment where the three of us in this room can help you come to the decision that you need to make. First one, of course, was teaching, because all you're doing is telling somebody how to do something. The next thing is a shared information, where I'm going to give you a little bit and get you moving, and then from that, we can work together to come up with the answers. Now that's where an expert is trying to help somebody with some knowledge. So this would be more of that sharing back and forth. And the last one, where I'm going to create an environment for you to figure it out, that's peer coaching. That's the difference that you're going to be faced with when you're going in as a club coach. Sometimes you're just going to be telling them, sometimes you're going to be working with them, and sometimes you're going to help them work through the problem. The challenge that we have, sometimes as coaches, for those of us who do it all the time, is that we try to coach when we should be teaching. Now, if somebody's coming into a different building and they walk up to a person and say, "Can you direct me to the washroom?" A peer coach environment would be, "Well, tell me about your experience with the bathroom." And in a perfect situation, what would that bathroom look like? And the person's going to lose it. "I just want to know where the bathroom is." So that environment, that's a teacher. Okay? So the difficulty we have is that sometimes we spend too much time teaching and not enough time coaching, or we end up coaching when we should be teaching. And there's a very fine line that we need to walk in between that. A switch out of that, I'm learning how to swim. At age 60, I decided it was stupid that I could not swim. I'm going from cycling and marathoning to triathlon. I got in the pool. How hard can swimming be? I mean, really, you kick your legs, you flap your arms, and away you go down the pool. Well, that turned out not to be the case. And I worked through a series of different swim classes and swim coaches. And finally, I just went to a triathlon swim coach. And I went to her, and the first thing she had me do was get in the pool, and she's got a GoPro on a stick. And she, every 25 meters that you swim, she has the camera in a different spot so that she can see what you're up to. And personally, I felt that I was looking kind of like Michael Phelps. No doubt about it, I had it nailed. So after we get finished with the swim, she takes the stick or the memory card out of her GoPro and sticks it in her laptop. And we sit down, and honestly, it was just awful. It was just awful. And the first thing she said to me was, "Well, what do you see? What do you see in this video?" And I'm going, "Well, my legs are sinking. My legs are 45 degrees to the water surface." She says, "Uh-huh. And what else?" You know, the stunned silence. I have no idea what I'm looking at. So then she says, "Well, how are you breathing?" I don't know. I'm going for air. So her first question was peer coaching. What do you see? The second question, when I got a little befuddled, now she's starting to dive into it, and we're going to do a little bit of mentoring. She said, "I can tell you're carrying far too much air in your lungs, and that's why your legs are sinking." Well, how does that work? She said, "Have you seen the way you come out of the water and you're gasping for air like you're going to die?" Doesn't everybody? So as I'm popping up to get air, I was carrying so much air in my lungs that they were super buoyant, and there was no way that my legs could come up. I would not have understood that on my own. So by her explaining what the problem was and what she saw, now she's into the mentoring piece. And after we figured those out, those kinds of issues, now we're in the pool, and now we're doing drills. So how to stroke, how to kick, how to breathe. Now we're into teaching. So in that situation, inside of about a 5-minute period, she did coaching, she did mentoring, she did teaching. And that's the world you're going to live in as a club coach. But the important thing is that you need to understand what the differences are between them in order to be effective. Because she did not start out by telling me what to do. She engaged me by asking the questions that needed to happen in order for me to be part of the process in solving the problem. If we solve the problems for these clubs, they go nowhere. We end up back a year later with the same kinds of issues because we haven't imparted the skills that they needed to solve their own problems. Because the problems change year from year, person by person. So that's the main difference between coaching, mentoring, and teaching. And that's a skill set that you'll develop over the next year. Okay. Oops. Okay. can teach me how to use this thing?
What's your experience with clickers? Sorry. What's your goal for the clicker? Too many coaches.
Do what you're told. Sorry, the folks online aren't going to see that. But coaching is really unlocking people's potential to maximize their own performance. Our job is to help them become the best that they can be. Our job is not to do it for them. You are there to maximize their performance on their own. So it's a guiding. Think of yourself more in the parental role than a teaching role in this situation. We need to make them successful so that over time, the student becomes the teacher. Right? They learn so much that they no longer need to have you going. Tim Galway he started out as a tennis coach, and he's become one of the more famous business coaches in town. This was 1974, so this was 3 years before I was born. Again, folks online, that's not true. But if you look at performance, remember I said you need to maximize your own performance? Performance is what you are capable of doing. The maximum capability that you have is your performance. Sorry, there's potential. The potential is what you have in total. What do I mean by interference, though? It could be anything. It could be the interference that you have in the club itself, the people that are involved, or it could be a personal challenge. So your ability to have the performance that you want is your maximum potential subtracted by the things that you're getting in your way. And this interference is where you're going to focus as a club coach. The focus has to happen on what can I do to remove either the impediments that's happening in the club or the impediments within this individual so that they can get the level of performance that they're looking for. Very simple formula. It's held the test of time for an awful lot of years. The important thing as a coach or this whole program, the mentor, trainer, coach, is to make sure that you are setting this individual or this club up to be successful forever, not for right now. As you're working with the individuals or you're working with the club or whomever is involved in this thing, we need to make sure that they can carry the ball on their own and that they know how to get the resources and they are capable and comfortable in doing that. So success can't happen necessarily in the 1 year period that we have as in the coaching. That would be the wonderful thing if it does happen, but it might happen after you're gone. We don't want to be the person that, you get in, you make a difference, you make it happen, and then a year later, they're back in the same boat. We also want to be in that position that in 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, this club has totally forgotten who you are because the credit has gone to the club, and that's where it belongs. These are the people who are making a difference in the lives of their membership. So the idea is that we want to set this up so that never ever again is this club ever in need of a club coach. And that's our job, is basically to put us out of work. I will pass it back to the head squirrel.